This is the latest in the rookie recap series here on the channel, going through the action that the rookies got themselves week by week in what has essentially become the Xavier Worthy show. But for the, I believe, third week in a row, there are some stunning similarities popping up between Xavier Worthy's rookie season and that of Rashee Rice. So let's just get right into it. This looks like a lot of numbers, but I promise it's not really all that complicated. So here we have the 56 snaps played by Xavier Worthy against the New Orleans Saints. 3 receptions, 25 yards, 1 carry, 3 yards, and a touchdown, which is 4 total touches, 28 yards, and a touchdown. On the season, this gives him 216 offensive snaps, 12 receptions, 179 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which is a total of, or plus 6 carries, 42 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which gives him a total of 18 touches, 221 yards, and 4 touchdowns through the first 5 games of his rookie season. Now, let's look back at what it was that Rashee Rice did in the first 5 games of his rookie season. 123 total snaps, which is about half as many as has played Xavier Worthy. This may seem as if it is troubling for Xavier Worthy because he has put up similar receiving yards despite playing twice the snaps. However, I think that what this is a sign of is the fact that Xavier Worthy is much more integral to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, and it is going to pay dividends later in the season as Xavier Worthy is a larger part of the entire offense, not just as Rashee Rice was early in his rookie season, being put in order basically to play wide receiver long enough to get a catch, right? So 123 offensive snaps and 17 receptions means that 1 out of every, 9-ish snaps he was getting thrown the ball, versus Xavier Worthy has 18 touches total on 216 snaps. Xavier Worthy's on the field a whole lot, and that is likely to accelerate as the Kansas City Chiefs find themselves with a lack of receivers on the roster. Xavier Worthy suddenly becomes one of the more dependable options here for the Kansas City Chiefs. But through this same time in his rookie season, Rashee Rice had 17 receptions compared to the 12 by Xavier Worthy, 173 yards compared to the 179 by Xavier Worthy, and the same 2 touchdowns. Now, here's where it gets really, really weird. Rashee Rice had but 1 carry in his rookie season, and it had already happened by this point and time in the season. He had negative 3 yards on that carry through 5 games total. Both Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice had 18 touches. Now, Xavier Worthy has been stunningly more productive with those touches to the tune of 221 yards versus Rashee Rice's 170. That is a 51-yard advantage for Xavier Worthy, and he has twice as many touchdowns with 4 as Rashee Rice's 2. This puts Xavier Worthy on pace in his rookie season to have 41 receptions for 609 yards and 7 touchdowns on 734 offensive snaps. Basically 1 touchdown every 100 snaps, which is impressive. Also 20 carries, 143 yards, and another 7 touchdowns rushing. Probably not going to happen. 61 total touches, 752 yards, 14 touchdowns. 61 touches, 752 yards, I can definitely see being a reality for Xavier Worthy in his rookie season. 14 touchdowns would be excessive, but 5 games in, that's a third of the season, and we are looking at Xavier Worthy being an absolute weapon for the Kansas City Chiefs offense to this point. Now, unfortunately, this has become the Xavier Worthy show, and we're going to get into the other rookies, but I don't think that things are necessarily negative for the other rookies here. I think that things are maybe just slow. Jared Wiley has played 18 snaps against the Saints. In the 2024 season, he has played 67 snaps and has 1 reception for 7 yards. That seems not very good, right? That seems as if it is being something of a wasted season for Jared Wiley. However, if you go back to 2021, Noah Gray to this point in the season had played 36 snaps, about half as many as Jared Wiley. He had 2 receptions, which is twice as many, but he only had 5 yards receiving compared to the 7 yards on Jared Wiley's lone reception. At this point in his rookie year, Noah Gray had also sat out a game listed as inactive. Jared Wiley has been on the field every game so far this season, even if it was just for a few snaps. So it seems that Jared Wiley is not having a particularly robust rookie season, but that is up to this point. Now, Noah Gray never really got into stride in his rookie season through the whole thing, but I think that we will see a little bit of emergence for Jared Wiley as the season goes on. I think that is just inevitable at this point when you're looking at the lack of receivers on the Chiefs and the fact that, well, maybe not, because Jody Fortson came back and is already out producing Jared Wiley on the season. The next rookie to talk about here is, of course, Carson Steele, who played 16 offensive snaps and ended with 5 carries for 12 yards, which is a paltry 2.4-yard average, but he added 2 kick returns for 54 yards. And what we are seeing here with Carson Steele on the kick returns is something that I had sort of hypothesized earlier in the offseason, in the preseason, when they had changed the rules around kickoffs. I think you're going to see the emergence of the power runner kick returner as opposed to just being a speed guy. Why do I say that? The kickoff teams do not get a full head of steam as the kickoff returner is catching the ball. This should provide larger power running kick returners the opportunities to really make a mark by basically blowing through a kickoff team that has not built a head of steam. This is, of course, until the NFL evolves and you see more tight ends, linebackers, and maybe even edge players out there on the kickoff team. Then, of course, the reemergence of the fast kickoff returner. This is something that is always extremely interesting to follow, is the evolution of things. You go back to the 90s and how devastating a big, strong wide receiver could be until all of a sudden in the early 2000s, the very small, quick, and agile wide receivers were blowing past the large cornerbacks that had evolved in order to cover the large, kind of stumbling and bumbling wide receivers of the late 90s. And then all of a sudden your cornerbacks have to become small, fast guys, and then you get Terrell Owens, right? So, and this is all sort of, evolving at the time. I'm not giving you specific years because it's incredible how these things happen and how fast some of these iterations occur, how fast the de-emphasis on the running game occurred in the NFL is absolutely mind-blowing. You go back to maybe 2008, and I haven't looked at the numbers, 2008-ish, the last year of the running back in the NFL, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. And after that, it was all passing, and how quickly that happened until all of a sudden you don't have to have a running back in the NFL, and it's been that way for a decade now. So looking at Carson Steele on the 2024 season, he has so far 33 carries, 117 yards, which is good for a 3.5-yard average, which is kind of what you would expect for a Carson Steele type running back. You add on those 3 touches for 82 yards in the kick return game, and I think that's where we will start to see Carson Steele make a little bit more of a mark for himself. And the reason I think that's a good thing for Carson Steele, it's way easier to fumble on kick returns than it is on running the football. So it should build his confidence to get the touches in the kick return game. And all of a sudden, this fumbling issue that he has as a running back may sort of slowly dissipate. Now we get on to what might be the most disappointing, well, second most, I would say, disappointing rookie season so far. Not to say that it will be a disappointing rookie season or that the player himself is disappointing, but Kingsley Suamataia played but 4 snaps of offense and 7 snaps of special teams. On the 2024 season, he has 114 snaps of offense and 23 special teams starts. Not a whole lot to go over here with Kingsley Suamataia until he gets some more offensive playing time for himself, and I'm holding out hope that Jawaan Taylor will find himself on the bench at some point, if even for just a little while Kingsley Suamataia can get some snaps on offense at Jawaan Taylor's expense, whether he ends up on the right side or he comes into the left and Wanya Morris moves to the right. Then we have the biggest surprise of this game. Christian Roland-Wallace played a snap of defensive football, so long as the internet is to be believed. He played 1 snap of defense and 14 snaps of special teams. This gives him 1 snap of defense on the season and 70 snaps of special teams play. Who would have called Christian Roland-Wallace playing more defensive snaps than Jaden Hicks in the 5th game of the season? Certainly not me. But this is a good sign. Christian Roland-Wallace, of course, came to the Kansas City Chiefs as an undrafted rookie free agent out of USC, someone that I think had a draftable grade, but ended up falling out of the draft completely. And obviously, Brett Veach's reputation with UDFA, with defensive backs, with getting UDFAs playing time as rookies, all helped in order to have Christian Roland-Wallace find himself a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's done better, I think, than anyone would have imagined at this point, especially if you're looking at the number of defensive backs that the Kansas City Chiefs have on the roster. I didn't think he was going to make it out of training camp. I thought that he was definitely going to find himself a victim of just the numbers, the sheer numbers, and maybe pass through waivers in order to sign onto the Chiefs' special or practice squad. I at a loss for words for some reason today, spitting out all the wrong ones. But the fact that he does find himself on the active roster, playing special teams on a weekly basis, and finally touching the field as a defensive player, that is a promising sign moving forward for him. He could be the next Deion Bush type player for this Chiefs team, which would be, look, it's undersellable, right? It is something that is not going to make headlines, but you need those glue guys. You need those small bit players, small role players that end up playing those roles for your team for years. So all of a sudden, you don't have a kickoff team that is absolutely inept because it's full of guys who've never done it. Jaden Hicks with 0 defensive snaps and 17 special team snaps. This gives him 13 defensive snaps on the season and 97 special teams snaps. Yes, this is disappointing. This is the most disappointing of the rookie class as a whole because of what it is that we saw him do in the preseason. But guys, I really don't know what there was to be expected from Jaden Hicks this season. The Chiefs are loaded at safety. The Chiefs are loaded at defensive back. The Chiefs are loaded at corner. Where were those reps going to come from? I think we will see more of him as the season goes on. You want to get your safeties off the field a little bit. You want to save them some reps. You want to save them some running. You want to keep them fresh for the playoffs. I think that all of that will come. We have seen players time and again be eased into this defense. So hopefully that is what happens for Jaden Hicks. And finally, Hunter Nourzad, 7 rookies playing for the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 5. Hunter Nourzad wrapping things up with 0 offensive snaps, but 7 special team snaps. The fewest reps for a player on this rookie list, but important to get him on the field still. This gives him 0 offensive snaps on the season, but 25 special teams snaps. This is a confidence-building season for Hunter Nourzad. He missed having to go on the practice squad and finds himself as an integral member of the special teams. Nothing to be ashamed of there. This gives the Kansas City Chiefs 95 regular team snaps from rookies against the Saints and 48 special teams snaps. The special team snaps are low, in my opinion. You would like to see that up. The regular teams snaps are low from the past few seasons. If you remember that class that saw Isaiah Pacheco et al., that was a team that had tons and tons of rookie snaps. And even the year before that, you had Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey and Nick Bolton all as every snap starters that basically got no rotation. So the rookie classes those 2 years were especially heavy, but I think that we are a little bit light in this rookie class on the rep counts just because, well, this is a talented team. It's a team that's won 2 consecutive Super Bowls, and not going to be a whole lot of room for rookies to contribute on a team like that in the hunt for a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl and tied for the final undefeated team in the NFL. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.